Well, it looks like Hunter's emails is going to turn out to be Hillary's emails, or the Podesta emails, sorry, story of this election. We had the Podesta emails in 2016 that were just sort of a trickle every week or so, I think, is when WikiLeaks was releasing those. That was just showing how Podesta and Hillary were corrupt and creepy, and of course all that the Pizzagate stuff came out of that. And now it seems like Rudy Giuliani plans to release this stuff from Hunter Biden's MacBook, or somebody else's MacBook. But anyway, a MacBook that has a lot of stuff that very clearly belongs to Hunter Biden. Every day, maybe, until the election, every couple of days. And now we're getting stuff about the business dealings in China, how Joe Biden was involved with that. There's all this stuff, and I'm not even going to go into the details of all of it because, I'm not really concerned with the nitty-gritty of it, but rather what the impact this will have on the campaign. And the way I see it is that Joe Biden has been trying to run as sort of the straight man, as the return to normalcy candidate. It's a very common trope amongst presidential candidates. If there's somebody who's seen as an agent of chaos, you run as the opposite. You say, I'm the return to normalcy. I'm the good, honest man who's, even if we disagree on things, I'm a good person and you can trust me and I'm going to do the right thing. And I'm a straight shooter and all these things. And he's trying to run as essentially a very clean candidate, someone whose whole appeal is that that they're nice and friendly and not shady, and they don't do the sorts of things like Joe Biden is implicated as doing in these emails. And that is why this whole email story and all the other stuff regarding Hunter Biden, the whole Hunter Biden story in general, I think is a disaster for Joe Biden, because it cuts right at the heart of his campaign. You see, when the Access Hollywood tape dropped for Trump back in 2016, that to me didn't, and I didn't vote for Trump in 2016, but the Access Hollywood tape did not do a thing to change my opinion of Donald Trump, because Donald Trump has always been, kind of a pig. That's part of his public persona. He makes lewd comments about women. So it was not shocking to hear that he made lewd comments about women on a hot mic, 15 years ago. It in no way does anything to change people's idea of who Donald Trump was. It didn't do anything to discredit his campaign and his message. But in the case of these emails, that are, and the pictures and all this stuff that just basically makes Hunter Biden's problems. As much as we would like to say, well, those personal family problems, and it's not nice to give Joe Biden crap because his son is an addict. Families have problems, and that's true. But the fact of the matter is, I do think that voters care about that sort of thing, and that's going to affect their opinion of you. If you're running on, hey, I'm a good guy, and your son is a crack addict, people are going to look at you differently, because they're going to hold you to the standard of, you're supposed to be this really, great and perfect person. Think about it. The reason why there are so many people who hate Trump and are looking to Joe Biden is because they don't like that Trump is brash, and that he's edgy, and that he's kind of gross and grotesque. They want a polished, shiny politician who doesn't have that sort of nasty baggage. They don't want to think about bad things when they think about their president. And so I do think even the hookers in the crack does have an effect on Biden's campaign, but more so are these shady business dealings. Because people who were looking to Joe Biden saying, oh, this Trump guy, he's the paragon of evil and corruption, and look, he's enriching his children by putting them in the White House. And then they looked, but Joe Biden, he's lunch bucket Joe. He's middle class Joe. That's the guy. He's the guy that took the train to work. But then when they see all this stuff, when they see how Hunter was getting enriched by Joe Biden's by being connected to Joe Biden, and how apparently, according to some of these emails, Joe Biden was getting half of Hunter Biden's salary, it makes Joe Biden look no better than Donald Trump. And, this isn't going to make people vote for Donald Trump. No. the strategy is very clear. This is going to suppress turnout for Joe Biden because it's going to deflate people who were excited, not necessarily for Joe Biden, but excited to put someone in office who is clean versus Donald Trump, who's so very clearly dirty. But if both candidates are down in the mud and covered in mud, a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, but a significant, probably, they're betting, a significant amount of people are going to be demotivated by that. They're going to say, you know what, neither of these guys are good enough to warrant me going out and actually voting. The people who are the real targets of all of this, this info dump, all of this Oppo research from these Hunter Biden leaks, the people who they're trying to reach are folks who want to vote for Joe Biden. They're not trying to reach undecided voters and say you have to vote for Trump because Biden is so gross. You're trying to demotivate people and go to Biden voters and say, look, your guy is dirty too. You think that I'm you think that I'm a super corrupt president. Look at this guy who you're about to elect. He's corrupt too. And I'm not saying that Trump is super corrupt. That's not what I'm saying at all. But these people think he is. This is a part of the dichotomy between Trump and Biden that Biden has been trying to push. And so for that reason, this story is not going to go away. The Trump campaign, I think, should know that this is a good strategy. I think it's very smart of them to be pushing this stuff. Before, I was critical, like in the debates with, Trump talking all about Hunter Biden and stuff. I thought that it was, a little too in the weeds and something that you couldn't really get into in the form of a presidential debate. I thought that, it didn't work that well. But in this case, the Hunter Biden stuff, I think, is perfect because there's so much stuff. It's just like with the, with the Podesta emails. Or like the Comey letter back in 2016. People forget that Hillary Clinton very likely might have lost in 2016 because of James Comey. He came out with this letter that essentially said, I'm not totally sure about this Hillary, dame. She might be corrupt. And that was, the last week of the campaign before the election. I remember I was very, very clearly, I was sitting in a restaurant and I saw it pop up on TV, and I very quickly opened Twitter and look at my phone. I'm like, oh my God, what did Comey just say? And these probably, collectively might have a similar effect to the Comey letter. That's clearly what they're trying to do. They're trying to open these questions in people's minds. They're trying to create doubt that, hey, if Joe Biden gets elected, there's a possibility he could be impeached over this stuff. In fact, it's very similar to what Hillary tried to do with the Russiagate stuff when her campaign came up with the Russia collusion narrative. They were trying to deflect from their email scandal and the Podesta emails and all that, and they were trying to create this doubt that hey, Trump is a Russian puppet, and if you vote for him, he very well might be impeached. And of course, he was eventually impeached, but he was acquitted, or. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't even remember. The impeachment thing was so dumb. I wasn't following it at the time because I thought it was dumb and clearly that Trump was going to get off because he didn't do anything wrong. But I don't remember they're actually holding a trial in the Senate, so I don't remember exactly how the impeachment stuff ended. But anyway, the impeachment stuff's over. Didn't work. And people realize now that was all a fraud. But when you have something new like this, a new scandal that is starting in the last month of the campaign, there's not enough time between now and the election for all of this Hunter Biden stuff and all of this potential corruption. Because it's not just that Hunter Biden is a drug addict, although I do think that hurts Biden the more that people see Hunter Biden being a drug addict. The fact that he has his drug addict son in these positions of power, earning lots of money, off of his connections, and that it's so clear now. It's not just implied. It's not just sort of a wink, wink, and a nod. It's now explicit. If you see these emails, there's going to be people that turns off. And I don't think that the Biden Republicans are a big vote, but, perhaps some of these suburbanites who really are snotty people who, they voted for Mitt Romney because Mitt Romney really was as pure as the driven snow. I don't think he has much else going for him, but he was that. He wasn't, he was a clean dude. If they see that Joe Biden is dirty, they'll say, what's the point? This guy's just like Trump. They might write in Colin Powell or something. So yeah, it's really those privileged suburbanites who don't vote on actual issues, but vote rather on how candidates make them feel. I think suburbanites actually are some of the most emotionally driven voters in this country. Poor people tend to vote more on issues because they have real concerns in their life. Your your upper middle class folks, your retired folks, I should say people who are comfortably retired, have a decent 401k. They're not too concerned about their standard of living. They're comfortable, so they care about these more nebulous things like, is the president a good person? Am I proud of my president? Is he a good? Does he make my children? Or is he someone that my children can look up to? This kind of nonsensical stuff that does not matter in any sense. This is what your suburbanites care about. And so I guess now the goal of the Trump campaign should be to keep this Hunter Biden story in the news every day until Election Day, and make sure they really hammer this home and keep this constant drip, which I'm sure they planned. They wouldn't be dropping this stuff now if that's all they had. They've got plenty of more stuff coming, I'm sure. And as that keeps getting, and I'm sure it's going to get worse and worse and worse. That's how you structure these things. Trump is a showman. He knows how to do this. Giuliani, of course, is his personal attorney, so it's not like that Giuliani's doing this on his own. He's very clearly working with the campaign. And so I guess we'll just have to wait maybe a couple weeks to see if this really starts affecting Biden in the polls. In those suburban areas, I don't know if there will be enough polling by then. Or of course, as I've said, I think I've talked about it on this channel. Actually, yeah, I did a few days ago, earlier this week. The polls, I think, are, I think they're not, from what I've seen, the polls are not doing too well this time around. There are just these polling results that come out that are absolutely absurd. So I don't even know if there's going to be a difference, if it would even show up in the polls. I don't know if the polls would become, less absurdly favorable for Biden, or if there would be any noticeable difference at all. The polls seem to be, to me, so far removed from reality. I don't know really how to use them as a gauge of public opinion. So with that said, if you get anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and sharing this video. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe, because I do upload every day and I'd hate to have you miss one. So I'll see you folks back here tomorrow.